The original Ghostbusters is a fantastic movie that didn't need a reboot, and the new one completely sucked. Thanks. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Okay, maybe I'll explain in a bit more detail. Here are my thoughts on why the old Ghostbusters is way better than the new Ghostbusters. And spoiler alert, it has nothing to do with gender. (1984). What an epic year for movie fans. This is a year that gave us some of my all-time favorite movies. Gremlins, A Nightmare on Elm Street, Terminator, and of course, Ghostbusters. Now before I start analyzing the movies, let me first get something off my chest that may seem like a lame reason to hate a movie, but I can't help it. When someone remakes or reboots a movie and keeps the name the exact same as the original, it makes talking about the movies completely annoying. I can no longer simply say Ghostbusters in normal conversation. I now have to say the original Ghostbusters when talking about the 1984 movie, and the turd version when talking about the new movie, so that people know which one I'm referring to. Remaking a classic, especially a beloved movie, is tough in general, because it's impossible to not be compared to the original, and it's almost impossible for people to not approach the remake with a chip on their shoulders, expecting it to be worse before even seeing it. I admittedly went into this one expecting it to be worse, and it was. Taste is a subjective thing, and you may have loved the new Ghostbusters, but for me, it did almost everything wrong. Let's start with the elephant in the room and talk about the all-female lead cast. I almost left this part out of the comparison since it was clearly never an issue and was overinflated and completely ridiculous. Nobody cared that the cast was all female. Nobody gave a shit. I don't know what feminazis started the uproar, but they should be embarrassed because it wasn't an issue until you made it one. The backlash from the feminists that followed the initial reviews of this movie were certainly no picnic for the movie reviewers, and I refuse to be a part of that feminist picnic. And besides, at a feminist picnic, nobody makes sandwiches. Moving on. Now I wrote and rewrote this video essay a few times. At first I was going to point out the dozens of small things that I hate about the new Ghostbusters and why it's obviously inferior when compared to the original. I could probably do an hour-and-a-half long video one of these days talking about the cinematography, writing, acting, plot structure, marketing, and everything else wrong with this new version, but I'm going to try and keep it a bit more simple. So, here it is. The new Ghostbusters is not a movie, plain and simple, and should not be reviewed as one. It is, in fact, the most expensive Saturday Night Live skit ever created. Both movies have a cast comprised of brilliant comedic actors that are very competent and capable of carrying a movie, but the original cast took the role seriously and didn't try to out-funny each other in every piece of dialogue. The characters were fleshed out using witty banter, and the plot was actually moved forward by it. You know, like in a real movie. The new Ghostbusters feels like an improv skit, in which each character is trying to outdo each other every single scene. They all want to be the funny one, which may work in small doses, like a 2-minute SNL sketch, but not in a 2-hour-long movie. At some point, I want to be able to take at least one character seriously. The original Ghostbusters was full of funny people that felt like real people, and the new Ghostbusters is full of overplayed characters, almost like cartoon characters, or even caricatures of real people. This is what Saturday Night Live did with every skit. They take normal qualities and over-exaggerate them to the point of ridiculousness to add as much humor to each second of screen time as possible. The nerdy characters are super nerdy, the evil characters are laughingly evil, and the funny characters are overly animated and obnoxious. Look at the secretary played by Chris Hemsworth. The simple joke is that he was hired for his looks rather than his brains. This is a funny premise, and if handled differently, could be a subtle and fun-running joke. But the movie insultingly beats us over the head with the complete and cartoonish idiocy of this character. It may work for a giggle now and then, but it completely takes me out of the movie. I know I'm watching a goofy actor doing a ridiculous performance when I'm supposed to be laughing at a character. Again, this is why it feels more like an SNL skit. When I watch Saturday Night Live, I am well aware that these are actors, making fun of real-life situations using parody and satire. I should not be aware of this fact when watching a movie. I see Chris Hemsworth doing a skit about the dumbest person on the planet when I should be watching his character. Let's take a look at the subject matter. Ghosts. There are usually only two ways to handle this subject, either in a realistic way or a cartoonish way. A simple film can usually do one of these, creating either a horror movie or a comedy. To intertwine elements of both is a true filmmaking skill and a complete rarity. Think about the original Ghostbusters. Is it a paranormal horror story? Is it a comedy? Is it an action movie? It's kind of hard to say because it successfully incorporates elements of all these genres to create something that stands out in the world of movies. The original Ghostbuster is held on a pedestal for this reason, and rightfully so. The new Ghostbusters is a one-trick pony, which is clearly a cartoonish comedy and nothing more, and will be lumped in with all the other mass-produced comedies and will never gain the respect of the original. The cast of the original movie treated the ghost as real, scary, dangerous things, and reacted to them in a way that is consistent with reality, allowing us to relate to them and follow them through their journey. We laugh at the dry humor and are willing to let a lot more slide, like silly moments and effects that haven't aged well, because we love the characters involved and are completely engrossed in the story. The jokes. Ugh. Let's talk about the jokes. The new Ghostbusters feels like it was written by grade school children that think falling down and screaming is the only way to be funny. This form of lowbrow humor can be funny if done correctly, or in moderation, or if it completely crosses the line of good taste. But when all your jokes are cliche and cartoonish, and approved for all general audiences, young and old, they're usually boring and forgetful. Let's take a look at comedic scenes from both movies. Here's an example of lowbrow humor done lazily.
Get out of my friend, Ghost! Ow, that's gonna leave a mark. The power of pain compels you! Ow!
Now here's how witty and dry and wonderful it can be.
It was fine with our system until the power grid was shut off by Dickless here.
They caused an explosion.
Is this true?
Yes, it's true. This man has no dick.
For me, there's no comparison. One of these movies has made me laugh since the 80s and continues to do so every time I watch it. The other will be forgotten the second I finish this video essay, which is right about...